Oh, he's got Igni 100%, man. Look how much I can play around Igni. It's kind of disgusting, right? I'm going to let him think he's got it. Right? Is it actually Igni? Is it actually Igni? Please tell me I win. Oh my god. Oh my goodness. Debated. Hi guys, my name's Specimen and I've got a brand new deck guide for you today for a very unique and interesting deck that I think you're going to love. It's got a fantastic finisher using the man Vladimir von Everec, who is one of my absolute favourite characters, if not my favourite character, from Witcher 3 in the Heart of Stone expansion. It's Olgierd's brother, and it's a card you don't see, and we've had to craft this premium because it is just an absolute diamond. This combination does not rely on coins, and it's not quite as risky as Louisa. However, if your opponent's expecting it, we're very susceptible to poison, and particularly to Kahori Heatwave as well. So you do need to be careful of that if this deck becomes more popular. The main focus of the deck, like I say, focuses around this Greater Brothers card as your finisher. It's 10 strength in its 7 provisions with 4 armor. So 10 strength for 7 provisions is pretty good. It's sort of like a monsters card you'd expect, right? However, if it's exposed with its 4 armor, it's going to destroy itself. So if your opponent was to use an Owl's Thunder on this, it would kill itself. However, you can spend 2 coins and it gains 2 armor. We don't really have many coins in this deck, but we can use Insanity. Now, what Insanity does is it's going to knock itself down by 2 strength and gain 2 armor. So it will go to 8 strength, 6 armor, 6 strength, 8 armor, etc. Down at 2 strength with 12 armor. Now that doesn't sound that good, right? However, this is where Becca's Dark Mirror comes in. So Becca's Dark Mirror can be used on your opponent's side of the board to remove tool boosted units and destroy them. But it can also be used on your own damaged units and boost them by double the amount damaged. So in other words, Greater Brothers is in at 2 strength. You're then going to use Becca's on it. It's going to heal it to 10, and it's then going to boost it by that amount healed, which is 8. So it's going to put it to 18 strength. So Greater Brothers is then going to be 18 strength, and it's still going to have its 12 armor. What you then do is, to avoid being baroned or ignied or something like that, you then continue to use the Insanity, and you knock it down to 16 strength with 14 armor, etc. until you get it down to 2 strength with 28 armor. Then your final piece of the combo is Mr. Vladimir, because he is of course going to swap a unit's power with armor. So your 2 strength, 28 armor Greater Brothers then becomes a 28 strength, 2 armor Greater Brothers. Alongside the 5 points on Vladimir, that works out at 33 points in 3 cards, total cost of 22 provisions, which is very, very good. Now, of course, the problem is, and it's quite an interesting mechanic, is your Greater Brothers, even though he's at 28 strength, he's got 2 armor only. And if he's exposed, if that armor is removed, then he's going to destroy himself. Last say with this deck is really important because it just allows you to protect your Greater Brothers. Say your opponent's got 1 card left in their hand, you have to decide how many points you want to sink into armor, so you have to predict your opponent's card. For instance, one time I was expecting an archer, so I just gave him 4 armor, but it turned out to be a Nature's Rebuke that damaged my Greater Brothers by 5, removing its armor, and I lost the game as a result. So it gives you a really interesting dynamic in that sense. Now, alongside our nice combination play with Greater Brothers, Vladimir and Becca's, we are also using a big finisher in Harold Gord. So not only do we have a lot of points here in a short round, but also we've got Harold Gord, who can get up to 13, 14, sometimes 15 points as well. And as you can see, in a short round of 4 cards, we're going to be very difficult to beat. While we're on the topic of big boys, it's probably worth mentioning this card, Procession of Penance. He can come in at 12 strength for just 6 provisions if you've got 5 Firesworn Zealots down on the board, which we can achieve with this deck. He's also got an interesting bit of synergy where you can put him down at 2 strength if you've got no Zealots, and Becca's Dark Mirror him for a 22 point Procession of Penance. It's an interesting idea. It's not one you're going to use very often, but it's a nice option to have. I've only done it once, and I did get Predatory dived, so do be careful of that. Oh no. Next most important card to talk about is Horson Senior, because he's the reason we're using Congregate as our leader ability. He requires 3 coins and he is able to transform adjacent units into cut up lackeys. So what you want to do with your leader is you want to use all 3 leader charges, making sure you put 2 Firesworn Zealots next to each other, and that gives you exactly 3 coins. Transform 2 of your Firesworn Zealots into cut up lackeys. So if your opponent cannot answer this, it can be really scary for them to deal with, and it's a great way of bleeding in round 2. You can put Horson Senior and your cut up lackeys behind Azar Javid for something that's really difficult to destroy. This card's also very useful against poison decks like Nilfgaard, like your Scoia'tael decks as well, or even decks where you're expecting Baron and you don't have Larcé, because you can use Azar late on to protect your greater brothers and your Gord from those poisons and those tool removal cards. Portal, so it's obviously playing 2 4th provision cards from your deck, both sides of this card. Now we do have a few 4th provision cards in here. We've got 1 Bare Knuckle Brawler, but we have 2 Mutants, and I've quite intrigued to see actually for a while what the premium of this looks like. So I'm going to transmute a couple of them and we'll find out live on the deck guide. It's looking pretty good. Intimidate. So you play your Portal, and then every single crime card you're playing is going to boost these up. Now, ideally, you actually want to have a Portal with a double mutant. And the reason for that is that these are Salamandras, and one of the crime cards here, in at 4 provisions that we use, Assault, if it damages enemy unit by 4, but if you control 2 Salamandra units, deal 6 damage instead. So ideally, your Portal is going to play double mutant, which then gives you an Assault with 6 removal. And this is the first sort of thing you need to be careful of with your mulligan. Do not brick your Portal. Novigradian Justice. This is a crime card as well, so it's going to buff your Intimidate, but it's also going to play a Cleaver's Muscle and a Dwarf from your deck. Now, one Dwarf is the Bare Knuckle Brawler, or alternatively, you have one other Dwarf, which is another Intimidate engine, and that is the Crown Splitter Thug. So you've only got 2 Dwarfs in your deck here that you can play through Justice. So essentially, if you were to have the Crown Splitting Thug in your hand and you were to Portal, you could play the Bare Knuckle Brawler, and that means your Justice is going to be bugged. So the first thing you want to do with your mulligan is just make sure your Portal's not bricked, and also that your Novigradian Justice is not bricked. It can actually be an idea at times to just hold this Bare Knuckle Brawler in your hand, obviously making sure you're not going to brick your Portal, or so you don't want to mulligan into a mutant or thug. But what that means is that you can then Portal into your mutant and then Justice into your thug, and that's going to be jobs are good 'un. So because Portal's so important, we have 2 ways to tutor it. One way being Matter, so if you play Matter, you're going to get Portal in your hand, but we're also using the Bank. Now, Bank is a brilliant way at finding Portal, but it also has a few other uses later on in the game if you haven't thinned that well, to just search for that one card in the combo. Let's say you've got 5 or 6 cards left in your deck, there's a good chance you're going to find the combo card you need with Bank. There's 2 other ways of thinning, one way being Furco, which is going to play a crime card from your deck, and finally, one of my favourite cards is Excommunication. So this card is absolutely amazing in my opinion. It's so good at 6 provisions. This card is like a mini Yankel Veit. It's a crime card, so because it's a special, it's going to give Gord extra value in round 3, and it's also going to trigger your Intimidate engines here, as well as your Cut Up Lackeys and your Horse and Intimidate. So this card is brilliant. What it does is it banishes an allied unit, and you play the top card from your deck. Now that's not that good, because you might play a card you don't want. However, if the target was a Firesworn, you look at the top 3 cards from your deck, and then play one of them instead. So, perfect on a Firesworn Zealot. If you've got a Firesworn Zealot down on the board, you use Excommunication, so it's a -2, but you then look at the top 3 cards on your deck, and you get to pick which one it is. Now, this also does not shuffle afterwards, so you're going to know what's on top of your deck for your draws. It also lets you know what your first 2 cards in your bank are going to be as well. So it's really, really useful. What this is also brilliant for, though, is helping you to chain cards. You can get some amazing chains with this deck, where you could play Bank into Furco, into Excommunication, into another card. So you can really, really start getting those chains in there, which is always going to buff your Intimidate engines and also give you amazing value on your Cut Up Lackeys if you have got them. This card is absolutely superb and I love it. I'm such a big fan for 6 provisions. Our final unit in this deck is Triss, and she creates and plays a bronze special card from either player's starting deck. So she's playing a special which is going to increase your Gord by 1 point, but you can also play crimes with her, your bronze crimes, which is going to help your Cut Up Lackeys and Intimidate engines. Now you might be wondering, Specimen, what are our other crime cards that Trish can play? Well, it could be bloody good fun. Congregation is fantastic in this deck because if you've got no coins, it's going to spawn 3 Firesworn Zealots, so 6 points plus a crime card for your Intimidate engines. Now we often do not have many coins in this deck. Now this also is what allows us to use Procession of Penance. It gives you nice excommunication targets as well. And there's some situations where you're going to use those for your Horse Son as well. Now we've got one final card and I cannot think what it is. Oh, it's Tavern Brawl. This is a pretty expensive crime card, but it is a nice option to have for some big removal. You can force an enemy unit to duel an adjacent unit. Now, if you're playing against an opponent, they can play around this card, but certainly at the lower ranks they're not going to, and it's often impossible to play around this card. For instance, if you're using Foulblood Priests, you're able to just get some really nice value off this. This card's brilliant. It's also a crime card, so it triggers your senior and other engines. Anyway, that's the deck. I'm just now going to briefly talk about when to bleed and when not to bleed, because that's sort of a big impact with this deck. In the gameplay I talk a lot more about the mulligans and the things you need to look out for, but I think the final thing to talk about is when to bleed, when not to bleed. So pretty much your strategy round 1 with your first mulligan is going to be 2 things. First point of call, don't brick your portal, don't brick your justice, and that's why sometimes it can be worth holding this bare knuckle brawler in your hand, as you know then your portal's going to hit your mutant. But alongside that, which is enough to think about already, you also don't want to have a handful of round 3 cards, because that's just going to mean you're not going to be able to stay in round 1 and push round 1 as much as you would like. So Vladimir, Harold, Greater Brothers and Beckers are cards really you want to mulligan, especially Harold, because he's never going to be good round 1. At least with Beckers, with Vladimir, with Greater Brothers, there's some times where you could use them to win on even, but really you're not going to wanting to be playing these cards round 1 or round 2 at all. So that's pretty much the focus of your mulligan. Don't brick your portal, don't brick your justice, and if you can afford to without bricking those cards, try to mulligan away these round 3 cards. Pretty much the plan is round 1 use portal, and get out your Intimidate engines, play some crime cards, and try to win the round. The reason you want to win the round is last say is very important, because your brothers can be countered very easily, as can Harold, etc. So that's normally what you're going to want to do, is try and win round 1, and portal helps you do that, as well as thinning your deck to make your mulligans a lot nicer in round 2. If you don't have access to portal, try thinning with cards like Furco, and then using excommunication and bank to try and find matter, and to try and find portal to play it round 1 if possible. It's really nice. Then you want to go into round 2. If you're going for a bleed, then you want to lead often with Azar, and then use your congregate charges and get in your Horse and Senior with your cut up lackeys behind a defender, and then just play as many crime cards as possible. Normally you want to pass them with 1 card in your hand round 2, so you go into a round 3 with just Greater Brothers, Vladimir, Beckers and Harold, and because the deck thins so well you cannot guarantee your mulligans. However, you also need to be careful of overbleeding. Okay, plan is round 1, play portal, right, thin your deck, get your Intimidate engines out and try to win round 1. I wouldn't say win round 1 at all costs, but sometimes it does feel like that, particularly against poison decks, against NR where you know they've got Baron in their deck. You're just going to get wrecked by Baron and other cards like that, right? Also, because of the nature of Greater Brothers coming in at 2 armor after using Vladimir, you're going to have to sink some of his points into more armor if you don't have last say. So you want last say, and you achieve last say by winning round 1. Bleeding round 2 is a real option, using your Congregate and Mr. Senior here. You can also put Senior behind Azar, but bear in mind against poison decks, for instance, you're going to want to save Azar for round 3 to just put your Greater Brothers and your Harold behind Azar. Otherwise, you're just going to get poisoned and you're just going to lose. So bleeding round 2 is risky, but sometimes it is going to be necessary. It's kind of difficult to judge when that is, but you can look at the written deck guide for sort of more details on when I think it's right to bleed. And like I say, you want to go into round 3 with 4 cards, and you achieve that by passing round 2 with 1 card. And that's going to be, your 4 cards are going to be Harold, Vladimir, Brothers, and Beckers. Now, you can also go for a long round 3, it's very reasonable, because Senior can carry you through the start of the round, and then you can finish off round 3 with your big finishers. But 2 other things to mention that I've forgotten to add into the video is, one thing, if you've used your leader charges round 1 and you need some coins for your Senior, what you can do is you can use your Azar and deny the tribute, so you only play 1 of the defenders, and that gives you 3 coins, which is the perfect amount for your Horse and Senior, so that's a nice option to have. The second thing to consider is against poison. decks in particular, you're going to want to have a 5-card round 3 where you want to keep your Azar for that round. So you'd go into round 3 with Azar, your Brothers combo, which is 3 cards, and also your Gourd. So against Poison, you want a 5-card round 3. I think that's probably your best way of dealing with it, and just try and get your big cards behind the defender. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the deck guide and you enjoy the rest of the gameplay. Please do subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want to see more, and do come and follow me on Twitch and come ask away in chat if you've got any questions. Sweet, nice one, brother. Okay, chat. This is for the video, so I'm not going to interact with chat much, probs. Okay, so we're going first, and instantly we see Portal in our hand, which is lovely. Now, your mulligan with this deck is kind of a weird one because you don't want to have like your round 3 combo cards like Greater Brothers, etc. But you also don't want to brick your other cards. Now, instantly I can see that my Justice is bricked, right? So I'm going to kick the Thug first, I think, because I don't actually mind having this in my hand because it gives me a double Portal of Salamander, which makes this card really good. So I'm going to kick the Thug here. Now, I don't want these round 3 combo cards in my hand, so I'm going to kick Gourd. Now, the last one's a bit risky. I could kick this, though. I think I'm going to kick this. It might just mean my Portal isn't a double Salamander. But we just hope for the RNG to go our way. It's what? Not great odds on it, but there's a good chance. And it works out for us, which is nice. You can't argue with that. Then the second play you're going to want to make, if you can Portal straight away, which in this case we could, is going to be Justice, because it's getting another Intimidate engine down. So Mr. Opponent decides to destroy that. Now, like I say, I've not really got anything to do. And also, the fact that we kicked this card gives us a nice Justice option, as we just get the Intimidate down that doesn't do damage, and we'll just work him down there. Yeah, so you do want to have, ideally, the double Salamander off your Portal, just because it makes your Assault worth 6 if both stick. Right, if you've just got one Salamander, this deals 4, like I have now. Or if you've got no Salamanders, it deals 4. Okay, now it's just pretty much, I can either go Bloody Good Fun, or I can go for the Assault on this, right? There's nothing else really to consider here. Doesn't really matter, which I do. We'll also flip this just to threaten the pass. I think it would be a 1 in 3 chance, right, of getting the double Salamander. Okay, again, we're just going to get rid of that. Doesn't really matter which I use, they do the same thing at this point. Bloody Good Fun can spend a few of your coins after the bank, but we might not necessarily want to spend them, so maybe I could have just gone for this. Okay. Now this is a bit of a weird one for us to be in, right? Bit of a weird situation. I don't want to pass. I also don't want to kill any of these. This card sucks at the moment. I don't. This is a round 2 or 3 card. This is a round 2 or 3 card. So I'm kind of left with no option but to bank. Now the problem with bank is that a lot of the time your congregation is only going to spawn 2. But there's a few good options like Furco into congregation's fine. Even though I've probably got coins. Triss would be okay, a bit overkill. Matter would be pretty much perfect, I'd say. So we'll go for the bank. I'm left with little option here. So I think we just take the Matter here. That's pretty much what we looked for. I've got 2 coins in the bank as well, which more than anything is just going to carry over as 1 coin. We don't really have a way of spending that. I don't want a Triss here. This card is obviously not doing anything for us at this moment in time either. This is where your Beckers can come in useful though as well, right? You could drop this and then Beckers it and it's 22 points, but I pretty much want to play Tavern Brawl and my Assault and then just get out of this round. I'm kind of cruising, right? I maybe we'll just kill this. Just looking to pass. Mr. Opponent still got his Ceres combo. If we have to invest Triss as well, there's no worries there. We don't want to use Mr. Senior. And we definitely don't want to play this. And obviously this is just playing for like nothing at this point. So we get the pass. And Knickers comes out. Now, I'm pretty sure we're not actually worried about Lippy because he's not played Roach yet. So I think there's no point of committing this. He's not played Ceres either. So I'm pretty sure we're just supposed to dry pass. And we just want all our combo cards at this point. So I'm at 8 cards. So you could even do a cheeky play of Possession and then Beckers it if he doesn't kill it. It's an option, right? I think I mulligan the Splitter here. So we've got Vladimir, we've got Beckers. We need Azar. This card's kind of good, and this card's pretty good too. So we may as well mulligan something here. I'm pretty sure Penance is just not going to see play in this deck, in this game here. And we are just going to dry pass for more mulligans, I think. We had the option of the Beckers, but I don't think it really achieves that much here, seeing as we know he's got Ceres and he's got Roach as well still in his deck. On like an open deck list though, if you know that they've got no tool removal, let's say I was at 9 cards, like a two round card of Penance plus Beckers is an incredible amount of points really. So he is still going to thin those out of his deck. There's the Roach. So we need to find Defender, even though we're up against this Lippy deck we're not too worried about. We need to find Leader. Is there any bad draws I've got here? Excommunication is really good. We need to find either Azar or Furco, right? They're like basically the 2 cards. Or Excommunication. But Furco gives us that. So we want to keep this for Excommunication, I think. But I do already have one. I've got Leader too. To be fair, this card could easily come in down at 12 points here as well. So I think we actually keep these. I don't feel great about ditching this either, though, to be honest. I'm going to kick one. I found Azar. I found Penance. But I'm actually looking for Furco here, right? Which we don't find, but we find Excommunication, which just gives us the choice of whichever one we want to go for. Pretty much. I'm not sure if my mulligans were exactly perfect there. Now, because we didn't find Furco, if we found Furco, we'd have thinned by 1 more, and there'd be 4 cards left. And obviously, there's a lot of people that will use their own version of Matter as well, which means we'd have 3 cards left, which means we actually thin perfectly with X. But also, if we didn't have Excommunication now and we had Bank would pretty much see the whole deck, like I say, as long as we'd actually played Furco earlier. I don't think there's too much to overthink here. I'm pretty sure we're just supposed to lead in with Defender and put Horson behind the Defender. Some matchups, it's worth considering saving your Defender and just go for Horson straight away. And then you actually want a Defender later on and put Brothers and Gord behind the Defender later on. Like against Nilfgaard Poison, for example, I think you're supposed to save this for as long as possible. Maybe let them sink 1 Poison into your Brothers and then you put, or into Gord and then you put this down. But in this matchup, I think it makes more sense to just lead with the Defender, as we're not really too worried. As I've got Last Say as well, right? Morkvog's a big counter, but I've got Last Say, we should be fine. That's not necessarily true because Gord does mess your ordering up a little bit. But anyway, I'm pretty sure we're supposed to just do this. I think he's going to struggle to deal with this and Horson will just carry us through the round. Even if he's got a Morkvog, it's kind of worth it. So here's the Matter. So as you can see, my I'm pretty much guaranteed to hit what I want here with Exco, right? Ideally, probably Furco into this, but Penance is also quite a lot of points still. So now, this is where you use your leader charges. I'm going to put 1 back here, just to make sure I've got enough room behind my defenders if nothing dies. And you use all 3, as that gives you your 3 coins for your Horson. And then, this is now 14 points here. So our leader was 16 points, if you're including the Horson value in. So it's 16 points for 3 coins, which is pretty good. Don't forget about Igni, that's also a good point. Now, Horson's got Intimidate, whereas these are now doing, they do 1 damage if they're on their own, but they do 2 damage per crime, if not. Okay, so it gets rid of 1 of those. And this is just, I've got 0 coins, so I'm just going to congregate here. And each one of these is doing 2 damage per. So obviously my Excommunication is looking good. Unfortunately, because I don't have this other congregation, Procession of Penance probably isn't going to be able to come down in this match. I maybe could have mulliganed slightly different to allow that to happen. So sinking a lot of value into obviously clearing this up now. I don't have a brilliant Tavern Brawl option. I could obviously Excommunication here. And if I Excommunication, I probably want to find Furco into this. Because that's just going to play 2 crime cards in 1 play, right? Which maximises my value off cut-ups. And we may as well take Furco. Right. Now, obviously, if I had Penance, Penance is playing for 12 points for 6 provisions here, which is no joke, right? Obviously, I'm not playing around boat here particularly with this line of play, but I just wanted to get 2 crime cards out while I still could, right? And you can see this card's really carrying us through, like even without the combo plays. My Salamanders are also gone now. I've only got 1, so this is only playing for 4. So I'll just take the value off it now. I don't really have anything else to do. Tavern Brawl's not lined itself up yet. But we're very far ahead already. And I've still got the Gourd, which is currently at 14 points for 7 provisions. Oh, maths, 12 points. But it's going to be at 14, possibly 15, right? If I Tavern Brawl, Beckers and Triss first. So my Tavern Brawl is kind of good value here, but not really. I don't love it yet. So I'm going to Triss here. Seeing as I've got the Cut Up and Horson, I may as well just take this, I think, and kill one of these. But as you can see, if Horson's not answered, this deck spirals out of control, even without this combo. Now, what you'd normally have in your hand here if you were playing a more traditional list is you'd have Madame Louisa and you'd have Savola, but Madame Louisa can easily get countered. And also, because we're playing this version of the list, our opponent might just be sat on like a decoction to deal with Louisa because they might be expecting it, and then obviously it's just not going to see the value he's after. So my Brawl's still not really doing much for me, so we're just going to keep sitting on that. It might just be time now to put Greater Brothers down. Unfortunately, he still does have the potential of another Stunning Blow, although this does sort of look like a Shoop deck, which you do see some Shoop Lippies. So I don't really like playing this card down early, but I'm losing points potentially on Gord, and also I want to play around Morkvog. Now, in order to play around Morkvog, what you do need to do is just hit this down a bit, and we are just going to hit this down to 2 points. I don't think there's anything that we're scared of. So the next play is, I mean, Tavern Brawl. If it opens up at any point, we'll just take that. But the next play is going to be Beckers onto this, and you want to just make sure you hit your Greater Brothers down even further, right? To play around Morkvog, because Morkvog will just wreck this otherwise. So, I mean, I'm going to just take my Tavern Brawl value here, because I kill Harold with it. I don't think I really get anything better. And again, it's still getting Cut Up Lackey value, it's still getting Horson. So my Cut Up Lackey is bound to hit one of the skulls, unfortunately, but that's fine. Wait, what? Did this not hit a unit then? Or did I just... I swear this didn't hit a unit. Maybe I'm wrong. And D3 in chats just said that, yeah, most likely he's not running Morkvog. I'd agree, but you never know, right? You never know. Morkvog is going to counter us, unfortunately. Oh, it hit Matter. Okay, thank you. So, I mean, we're still, in theory, behind right here. But we're obviously pretty much cruising. So we're 15 points down. But I've got points stored in armor here. We're going to take the Beckers because that just gives me 1 point on Gord. And we're going to make sure we hit him down. There is some risk to putting him down to 2, but not really in this matchup. And then because we're playing around Morkvog, we actually want to Gord first. So Gord's coming in at 15 points. So we had 15 points on Gord. We've got the big Greater Brothers. And we also didn't even take up the Penance in at 12. So you can see the deck's got the real potential of being a strong round 3 finisher with lots of big boys. And obviously you've got the carry, the long rounds with the senior and with the portal plays. And you've also got some pretty decent consistency with cards like Excommunication, like Bank, like Matter. But it is still very draw dependent for sure. So we're going to take the Gord here because it's a little bit... like if he's got Morkvog, he gets an abnormal amount of points on Greater Brothers. And also Greater Brothers would only need like something to damage it by 2. So you always want to have last say if possible with this deck. Because we're going to leave him at 2 armor here, right? Oh wow, we get Ignied. Could I have played around that in the back row? Nope. So, have we actually lost still? So we still win. Okay. So you can see the combo is kind of unreal, right? And we still had the Penance in the deck as well. So, GG. Morkvarg always kills Greater Brothers. That's actually not true, Lemon. What you do to play around Morkvarg is you just make sure you use the Insanity. So if it's at 8 strength, it's just going to do one. It's going to damage it once. It wouldn't actually get rid of the armor if it's damaged already, right? Because it damages it until it's damaged. And if you use the Insanity, so let's say it was at 8, it would play around it, right? But yeah, that's the deck. We're going to be playing it some more in stream. So if you did enjoy the video, please do subscribe and give it a like. That'll be very much appreciated. Enjoy the rest of your day. Adios. Okay, so I've just hopped into another game. Oh, this is straight off the back of the last one. See if we can get something good again. Maybe it'll just show you a different take on the deck, because that all went quite swimmingly, right? Now this hand already is looking a lot more awkward to deal with, right? I've got portal targets. I've got round 3 cards. So luckily I do have portal through matter though, but I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 cards I want to play later on. I'm always just kicking these though, unfortunately. And then I've got a mulligan here that I may as well use. I think the card you're least likely to want to use round 1 is probably Greater Brothers, so I'm going to kick it. Vladimir can sometimes get some weird value. Find Horsem, which again is a round 3 card. It's also kind of, this is really awkward as what I'm supposed to lead with here, because this is bad, right? Bank maybe is my only option here. What am I actually looking for from Bank? Maybe Portal itself, maybe Justice or Furco or the Brawler or even a Mutant. But it's really awkward, right? I don't have any plays. The fact that I'm going first, so you can see like already much more awkward. I do still have access to Portal though, so I don't really want to bank until I've portaled. But I feel like I'm left with little choice here. I don't want an Azar for sure. You could use a leader charge and use this, but I think that's kind of bad. So let's just do this. I think I Justice here. This is pretty bad here. I think we'll just Justice. And we'll play the Bare Knuckle Brawler. So it worked out okay, right? I think you can't complain about that too much. But as you can see, the deck thins a lot. So the draws are pretty dodgy, right? Especially because we've got so many combo cards for round 3. So now we're going to matter, which gives us Portal, which is going to thin us nicely. Unfortunately, I don't have any assaults in my hand here either. Which obviously, I'm getting the double Salamandra off Portal here. And you do want a Portal round 1. You just do to thin, right? You just do want a Portal. I've also got 2 coins here. So my Bloody Good Fun is doing 6 removal. So that's pretty nice on that. We are still going to Portal first though, because this isn't going to hit anything. And I don't think there's any reason to spin this. I think you normally want to spin this on 7 cards just to threaten the pass, even if we're not planning on. It just gives, might make your opponent play a higher tempo than they otherwise would. And we're losing 1 coin here. Ideally, right, we just use Assault on this because we'd kill it. So we could Triss for an Assault, but I think we'd rather keep Triss. And seeing as we can remove it with that, we lose a coin. But it's not the end of the world. It also means if I was to Triss now and find a Congregate, then we wouldn't mind too much. Also, it's worth bearing in mind that your bank shuffles, whereas this actually shows the top cards on your deck when you get to use this. Now, I don't really want to pass here, but I don't have any great plays, right? So Triss is an option to find a Congregate, maybe. In terms of his list, we've seen a Stunning Blow. I'm not expecting anything else. And Triss gives us the option of Assault, Congregate, or Bloody Good Fun. So there's a really good chance that we do find the Congregate. And if not, like, we'll just use the Assault or something. I could just Bloody Good Fun here and see what he does though. So we'll do that first. 4p card, and we'll see what he does instead. Again, I'm not wanting to play this, or this. So we do get the pass, and it sort of validates my choice not to use Triss. I would have been overkill. Now, we go into a long round 3 now. We're playing against, I'm pretty sure, a Geddy deck here, right? So I'm pretty sure we're just supposed to pass. You could argue I'm supposed to try and get it out, but I do sort of fancy my chances, to be honest. But we'll see what our mulligan brings us. I don't think I want this card. The rest of my hand's very strong here, right? Now, Assault's very good. You've got to be careful with Horson of actually having crime cards to play. But again, I'm still looking for Greater Brothers here, which we find. I mean, I could easily push here. Like, I really could push. It's kind of a weird one. I think I push, and I just don't kill. I mean, the problem is, I say I don't kill Ermion, but... So if I pass, he plays Ermion, and then he still has his Geddy combo. Am I that scared of the Geddy combo, though? Not that scared. I think I'm going to push, chat. Why ever not, right? I probably am not playing Gord, though. Gord might just be a round 3 boy. But I might try this combo out. Don't know, it's kind of a weird one. I maybe should just pass. We'll see. Hi, Para. I just feel my hand's too strong not to. So Geddy's out already. I don't think we're supposed to kill this. Thanks for the follow, I'll go. So we'll just do the leader combo here. I do quite like putting one of these in the back row. Just in case I want to, like, he ends up not killing anything. But again, the problem here is I really don't have that much in the way of crime cards. Now, Furco, these are salamanders, right? So my assaults are worth 6 removal. And I've obviously got a lot in my deck still. Furco gives me a lot of options. Triss gives me an option. But it could even just be worth putting a Greater Brothers behind my Salamandra here and then passing. And just keeping Gord for round 3. So we definitely just take the 6 removal here, right? Off Furco. And we kill a couple of those as well with my cut-ups. Now, unfortunately, I've got crime card from Triss, but also this gives me 2 crime cards in one go, right? So I think it makes more sense to Triss first, because I could find Tavern Brawl. So if I've got a good option on Tavern Brawl, then we'll take that. Okay, so there's one gone. So luckily we do find the assault. Also gives us some intel that he's rocking with Lacerate, but I don't think he has it in hand because he wouldn't have played this, right? If he had Lacerate in hand, he would have just lacerated this row to remove these rather than trying to move them like that. So as you can see, like, if you can get your cut-up Lackey set up, it's just an incredible amount of points. And that's why the Congregate is the best way to go with this deck. You don't need coins for the Greater Brothers combo either. So we roll Excommunication, and it could be our pass there. We force Leader out of him already as well, which is quite interesting. Also gives me the option to Beckers him there, right? Okay, this row's now ready to be destroyed, but let's make this last play. Worst case is we see this, this, and this. We just want to see an assault or congregation here, right? Now, unfortunately, it's pretty much my pass now, right? This is just where you wish you had the assault, the congregation, and the Tavern Brawl still in your hands, but never mind. Also, the penance, how many points would that have been worth here? 8 points. Not bad. But we're still quite scared of Wild Boar. This is my pass now as well, right? I would like to get rid of this, but... So I could Beckers this, right? And then I'm 31 points ahead. But I think I'm just going to pass. He needs to make a lot of points up here, right? And I've still got my... Look at this hand. Like, this is just combo on combo, right? So we force Wild Boar out of him, and he probably does take it now, but that's fine. I imagine Wild Boar takes it. Oh, it's Morkvarg, so even better. So if I was to have played any of these cards in here, we would have been done. So we win the game. The push was a nice play. It's unfortunate we're not going to get to see the combo because he's probably going to forfeit. But yeah, this hand's kind of ridiculous, right? I mean, we take the congregation, the assault, and the Tavern Brawl. So I guess we take congregation and penance, actually. I think this hand's fine, right? As you can see, we've thinned perfectly, so I can take either of these if I want them, but we'll just keep this, I think. It's fine. Yeah, we'll keep this, whatever. So he does forfeit, unfortunately. But the penance was coming in at, what, 8 points there? Because I would have had 3 down. And obviously Gord being huge. So yeah, that's the deck. It's powerful, it's good, it's draw dependent, but there's lots of options. The mulligan's difficult, but it's a lot of fun. And I'm pretty sure it's the best way of playing it rather than going with the Louisa. And having Vladimir in a deck is pretty damn cool in my opinion. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Please do subscribe if you want to see more deck guides and other Gwent content. I'm going to have some top 5 Gwent cards, top 5 worst Gwent cards, top 5 most hated cards. That's the one I'm most looking forward to. And yeah, all that sort of stuff. So if you're interested, please subscribe to the channel. Check me out on Twitch because I'm streaming virtually every day and the community on my Twitch channel is amazing. If you've got any questions, they'll be more than happy to help you out, even if I can't. Alright? Take care. Deuces. Cool. Well, that went well, chat. Should we put some music on?